Hello, hello. This is the LEGO Hidden Side Ghost Train Express set, or at least it's what it looks like in my regular studio against a white background. And here's what it looks like filmed on a phone in my building area. Don't make fun of me yet for filming it in vertical format, because there's one more thing for you to see: how this set appears in the Hidden Side app, where it gets augmented with augmented reality, expanding the background, expanding the area around, and introducing various gameplay features that you can use with your phone. And it does want to be in vertical format for using that app. Now, I'll come back to the app and show you what the gameplay looks like, but first, let's go ahead and go through the regular stuff like I usually do, checking out the physical product. First, I do want to be clear that there is no motor included with this train, so it does not move on its own, and it's not designed specifically to be easily converted into motorized form. This is not designed to be a power functions conversion or a new powered up conversion or anything like that. It's pretty much what you see is what you get, with the exception of some transformative features and of course all the stuff that you can do in the app. 4 pieces of straight, regular plastic track are included here, and also this brand new piece, which I think is kind of brilliant. It's a really good piece to include at the end of a train track, because a lot of people who get train sets, and especially things like this, where it's intended to be like a train play set, but not intended to go into a full loop or anything. A lot of these will be played with just on desks and floors and such. And this allows you to move from the floor onto the tracks very conveniently for this station. It just guides the standard width and standard compatible wheels of whatever cars you have connected together onto the rail. So it just acts as a nice little ramp and just makes it much easier than having to manually line these up and get them just right and everything. So I like this brand new piece, but there's also another new piece, actually a couple other new pieces that are somewhat hidden in here. Just really quickly here, for people who are already familiar with LEGO trains and train parts, these axles are done differently now. There's no metal axle going through the center. Instead, the wheels are independent and they just get snapped into place. So they have the axles built into them, and it's kind of a self-lubricating sort of system, completely dry with just 2 different types of plastic used. Very smooth, works very well, easy to put together. They have a single standard magnetic coupler on the back, so you can connect regular LEGO train cars from other sets to this, but for connections between the 3 cars or the 2 cars and the locomotive included in this set, they use this ball joint type of thing. It's the size of the Mixel's ball joints, and it's been used for cars and trucks in the past for trailer hitches, and this is the piece that they use for connections between a couple. They use the same type of connector at the front of the locomotive, and then this buffer at the other end of the track will actually connect to that, so you can snap the entire train into place and it won't go anywhere. This locomotive is clearly a diesel-electric design. It has opening doors on either side that look pretty nice, and there's enough room to get at least 1 figure into the cab, and there's actually a decent amount of detail inside that cab. There's the console area, so a little bit better than they've done in the most recent years with the city locomotives. And most of the area of the main body, also the nose, are dedicated to the ghost possession features. So for this one, on top, there is a lever that you push forward, and you have to push kind of hard, depending upon how the parts sit, but it'll bring these ghost wings out that are done in the bright spring green color on either side, and you can also retract them back. Sometimes the door doesn't fall all the way down. Sometimes I see that get stuck a little bit, but overall this feature works out okay. But the intent is for you to do that and also flip this little gray thing here, which is fairly discreet, and that opens up the front and gives you the mouth. You can put not really anything in there. It doesn't work like a trunk or anything, but it just gives a face to the thing and makes it look a little bit more creepy. I actually like how they integrated these things in. The mechanisms are nice too, putting it together. is enjoyable. I think the whole train or the whole locomotive looks a little bit plain, especially from the front here. Could have used a little bit more detail. I like the use of a diesel electric style, but then older, more classic styled colors. It gives a nice little compromise between. I'd say it's like in the early days of the switchover from steam to diesel electric. And there's how that looks from the back, which brings us to the first car, the first cargo car here. This has a ghost cleansing chamber. So the idea is that you would have a person actually walk into there, and then this closes up and it would remove the ghost possession if they have one. So an operator would stand right there, or could also potentially sit and use the panels there. It's kind of funny that this is done as part of a train, but it doesn't have to be as part of a train because this is just cargo. That's really the train car. It's just a simple, small, flat car. So you could use it for anything, literally anything that will fit there. Here's how this appears on the other side with a couple of stickers, a little bit of extra detail. The last car kind of looks like a boxcar, like a really, really small boxcar, maybe a really old boxcar. You can use it as such, but you can also use it as a container carrier. So again, you end up with just a flat car there that you can use for anything, which is great. I love the fact that they didn't fully integrate the hidden side specific stuff into the train cars, so you can really continue to use them beyond your interest in this theme. This on top is a kind of cool looking build for a ghost blaster. It's supposed to help you to remove ghost infestations from places. Unfortunately, it does not angle up and down. It only turns from side to side. And they've got a little spot for a person to stand or sit back there. And this also does open up, so you can use it for just regular cargo, and that's pretty nice. There's plenty of space in there. It's fully hollow with just a little bit of space used up at the ceiling. And there's a sticker on the other side. It looks like graffiti, which is great to see. I think we need to see more things done in Lego that represent graffiti, because it can just add a nice, different and interesting, I guess, patina to many urban things. And then behind the train this whole time was a small train station, train stop, a little platform with just a bit of a structure there. So it's intended to suggest something that's larger than just what you see here. Let me tell you, I love this technique that they used for the stairs here. That's kind of brilliant. These are not even connected directly. Look at that. Look at how simple that is. How simple that is, and it works perfectly here. I love it. It just gives an interesting look. Nice steep angle, which is important for minifigures to fit in a reasonable amount of space. Got the recycling bin there, which is fairly normal. Basically, you can sit one person at those two chairs because that's just how figures are. There's a lot of decay around here. A lot of stickers used to represent scratches and cracks and cobwebs and things. And this is also able to get haunted. So you can just imagine ghosts come along, a little bit of infestation, see some claws coming up here, and then this happens. So it's actually a ghost in the station becoming part of it. That's well integrated because you don't see all that stuff for the most part, at least from this side. Turn it around and you do see some of it, but it's not too bad, and there's still all this usable space here for being inside of the station. Could have used something back here as well to get people to wherever they're going. People who have gotten off the train, but whatever. This works out well enough. That's supposed to be a ticket machine right there, and I think they could have used just one other thing. Just I don't know, a newspaper dispensary or something else that you could buy from or pluck from. Here are the two main series protagonists, at least for now. Jack on the left and Parker on the right with their smart devices, their phones in hands, and they are scanning around for ghosts to find. I like all the new prints that they've come up with, and also these are two brand new headgear molds, and they are dual molded each. Also some print for the one on the left. I think they both look really good. They're different, and there's something a little bit classic, maybe a little bit retro about them, but not in a bad way. And each one has an alternate face as well. Let's just see what those look like with the headgear framing them up, just to see what the other expression looks like. I think that both of these are, yeah, just good. Here on the left is Series Genius JB. I think maybe the prints on that one for the torso and the hip and the leg pieces are a little bit lacking in detail. Just looks a little bit flat to me compared to the Lego norm. But there is another new headgear piece, dual molded once again with the goggles on there. Looks pretty cool. On the right is just a random frightened Newbury citizen named Paul with another new print for the torso there. I wonder if it's supposed to be like Paul from the Sprint commercials. I don't know. Yeah, again, not the greatest work on the prints on the back. There's the alternate face for this one and alternate face for this guy. You've seen that one before. Working on the train line on the left is Miss Santos. She's supposed to be the person in the ticket booth, although we don't really have a ticket booth because there's just an automated machine, but maybe she can help. But I mean, you can use your imagination a little bit, give these people whatever jobs you want them to have. On the right is Chuck, who's supposed to be also a ticket person, but more like the person who checks your tickets on the train, otherwise known as a conductor. I'm assuming that he's also going to do double duty as an engineer, or the engineer for the train. But again, swap roles around, come up with your own roles. You don't have to follow exactly what Lego specifically says. I like the color schemes for these, and these have very nicely detailed torsos, both. So I like those. Got this bright spring green colored lantern over here. Again, a bit classic, a bit retro in its design. No alternate faces, but you do get to do ghost possessions for each of these. You just swap out the heads and one piece of hair for each with that very dynamic, moving looking beard piece for the one on the right, which I'm sure is going to get reused. That mold will get reused because it seems very useful to me. And the prints didn't work out so well for the heads on these. That's not a new mold for the hairpiece on the right, just a recolor. And these two have a little bit of print on the back of each of the headpieces. Lastly, here are the spare parts, and there aren't many of them, and not many of them are particularly special. So let's get back to the app experience. I really like how they expand the world around the set with these, and it looks like they're doing that with every single set from this theme. They do a very, very good job of that. However, I should note that you cannot interact in the virtual space. So anything that you see that doesn't actually exist in real life is not a place where you can, for instance, put a minifigure and kind of see it in that place. That's all just going to show up on your screen as just the virtual stuff, just the graphics. The only thing in real life, the only area in real life that you see in the app is the train itself. And I think maybe a little bit of the station in some situations, but mostly it's just about the train. The gameplay appears at this time to be pretty consistent from set to set. It's all about scanning the area and finding little bits of what they call gloom, and ultimately eventually finding some of the ghosts, and then having little battles with the ghosts who will fly around to the scene, and you have to look for them as if using your device as a scanner and shoot at them. You have unlimited ammo, but you do have a limited recharge time, and different ghosts behave different ways and also have different ways that they shoot at you. You need to keep the things that they shoot at you from getting to you, or it will drain your virtual battery. If your battery gets fully drained, then the game is over for that time. But you don't properly lose anything. There's not a whole lot of risk to playing this. And ultimately, over time, you're just going to be collecting, whether you're really, really good at it or you're just okay, you're still going to be collecting new commodities, new materials, and things that can be used to purchase upgrades to ultimately make you more powerful over time. Like I mentioned at the outset, this does want to be played in a vertical orientation. You can turn it horizontally and it will continue to work, and With some of the sets, you can get around the back of the set if you're careful and slow enough about it, so you really get kind of a 360-degree experience with this, although the background, most of the background just populates away from you, from the initial angle from which you scan it. But I think it works out pretty well. It's not perfect. It is a little bit glitchy, and I have been warned already by viewers that compatibility with different devices is not that great. As a matter of fact, it seems to be fairly thin. It works with the latest and most powerful of devices, but definitely if you're looking forward to the app experience, be sure to go try to download the app first. You can use it. There are modes that you can use without having the physical products. Go ahead and try to download that, open it, make sure that it will work for you before you make a purchase and find out after the fact that, oh, well, my device won't actually work with this. So check that out first. And LEGO also has a device compatibility website that you can check out, and they do promote that quite a bit on any page with a product that does have app integration. This is another hidden side set that is not completely stuck being in the hidden side world. You can use this as just a regular LEGO train set, and that's what I like about it the most by far, and it's what surprised me the most. I mean, this little bit of cargo right here is kind of specific to the theme, as is that, but take off those two things, which is very easy to do, and you end up with a train and a train station, actually a train platform that's built up more than some of the train quote-unquote station sets and accessories that they've done before. It's a little bit on the plain side overall, but it all works. It comes with a little bit of track. It's too bad that it's not easy to convert it over to power functions, but that's not something that I would have expected. It's not part of the goal for building this set in the first place. And again, most folks who would get something like this will most likely be playing with it, displaying it, whatever, on a shelf, on a desk, or on the floor. So I'm okay with that. You know, us folks who are really into trains and train models can do a little bit of extra work, can buy the extra parts, and make it work. I think the new things work just fine. In that context, still don't think that hidden side packaging looks good at all, especially on shelves in stores. I think that's really going to hurt sales. The app integration for this one in particular is not as good as I would have liked. You can't really move the train. I mean, you can move the train, but it's not going to have any effect on the in-app experience. So that was a little bit of a letdown to me, honestly. I think that the app doesn't do that much. Definitely doesn't do as much as I would like here. Nothing happens in the app when you change over to the possessed version of the train or the station. That just doesn't come through whatsoever. And I think the station part is always haunted in the app, if I recall, if I'm remembering that right, or at least semi-haunted, and changing it here doesn't really do anything. So the experience there, it's pretty much the same from what I'm seeing so far. This is my second hidden side set review. The experience is pretty consistent from set to set. You scan the thing in, it brings in a very nice background around the thing, but then you just focus on the main part of the set and you move your phone around and you tap on it a whole bunch. It's okay. It works out and it adds something and it's interesting. But when it comes to value, I want to look at this as just a Lego set. This has roughly 700 pieces, costs $80 US by default, and I think that's not a terrible price, considering that there's a bunch of train-specific stuff here, including some of the tracks. Usually, stuff like that just makes things much more expensive. I think it would have been a fine deal if it came with a full loop of track for that. So I would like to see this particular set be a bit cheaper than that. I don't think it's outrageous, especially considering the price to part ratio that kind of brings things into perspective. I think that what is here is done pretty well. If you want to see how the entire set went together, you can check out my speed build. I will link to that on screen momentarily, or you can check out the real-time pure build, which isn't sped up at all, shows you the exact same complete process from end to end with no distracting sound or anything, just the sound of pieces going together. So choose your destiny on that. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again very soon.